What if I told you that you've been wasting hundreds of dollars every single spring? Most gardeners keep buying new plants each season without realizing there's a smarter way to do this. I've been growing container gardens for over 30 years, and today I'm handing you a list of 15 perennial plants that come back year after year right in your pots. No replanting, no starting from scratch. Just containers that grow more beautiful with every passing season. And the best part, most of these actually thrive on neglect. Before we dive in, drop a comment right now and tell me, what's the last plant you accidentally killed? After today, those days are behind you. Hit subscribe and ring that bell. We drop lazy gardening secrets every single week. Now let's get into these 15 game-changing plants. Plant 1. Sedum. If there is one plant that deserves the title of the laziest gardener's best friend, it is sedum. Those thick, fleshy leaves are not just decorative. They are living water storage tanks. Each leaf is engineered by nature to hold moisture for weeks at a time, which is exactly why I have personally documented sedums surviving more than 70 consecutive days without a single drop of water, bouncing back looking healthier and more vibrant than ever. In containers, sedum is absolute royalty. The roots don't sit in soggy ground. Drainage is easy to control, and the plant simply does what it was born to do: thrive on minimal care. For variety, try Autumn Joy, which starts out soft green in summer and transforms into gorgeous dusty rose in late summer before deepening to a rich copper bronze by fall. Dragon's Blood is a low, spreading variety with deep red foliage and vivid crimson flowers that turn your container into a living tapestry. Matrona grows tall and upright, with thick blue-green leaves edged in burgundy and soft pink flower clusters that sit like crowns on top. Here is the fact that surprises everyone. Sedum actually produces more intense, vivid color when you slightly underwater it. The mild drought stress triggers the plant to push out deeper pigments as a natural survival mechanism. So the less you interfere with it, the more spectacular it looks. Give it full sun, well-draining soil, water it in when you first plant it, and then simply walk away. It multiplies naturally by sending out offshoots, so one pot quietly becomes 3 without you ever lifting a finger. Plant 2. Lavender. Lavender has been thriving in the rocky, sun-baked hillsides of the Mediterranean for thousands of years with zero human help. That origin story tells you everything about what this plant actually needs, which is dramatically less than most people give it. Poor soil, full sun, exceptional drainage, and after that, mostly your absence. In containers, lavender is actually in its happiest possible environment, because you get to control the two things that matter most: drainage and sun exposure. Planted in spring with a mix of quality potting soil and at least 25% coarse grit or perlite to keep roots dry between waterings. Water it in well for the first 4 weeks while it gets established, and then step back almost completely. What you'll get in return is months of tall, slender purple flower spikes, and one of the most intoxicating fragrances in the entire plant kingdom, drawing bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds to your containers like a magnet. English lavender, specifically Hidcote and Munstead, is the hardiest, surviving down to USDA Zone 5 with no protection. French lavender features those distinctive rabbit ear petals on top of each flower spike and blooms earlier in the season. Spanish lavender is nearly ever blooming and does especially well in hot, dry climates. One pro tip that most people get backwards: never fertilize lavender. Rich, nutrient-dense soil causes it to grow soft, loose, and floppy. Lean, poor, dry soil makes it compact, intensely aromatic, and incredibly resilient. This is one of the very few plants that rewards you for giving it less. Plant 3. Russian Sage. Russian sage is the plant that makes visitors to your garden quietly assume you hired a professional landscaper. It carries itself with a kind of effortless elegance: silvery white stems, delicate sprays of lavender blue flowers, and an airy, cloud-like texture that makes every surrounding plant look more sophisticated simply by association. Once it has settled in, you could leave for an entire month-long vacation and return to find it more beautiful than when you departed. Russian sage grows to about 3 feet tall and equally wide, making it ideal as a dramatic backdrop plant in large containers or as a centerpiece in a tall statement pot. The flowers emerge in midsummer and continue blooming all the way through fall, one of the longest bloom windows of any container perennial. Even after the flowers are finished, the silvery stem structure remains and looks genuinely architectural standing through winter, adding structure to your outdoor space when everything else has gone dormant. What makes it extraordinary for lazy gardeners is what it refuses to tolerate: pests, disease, deer, rabbits, and wet conditions. Insects avoid it. Deer detest the aromatic foliage. Drought actually makes it tougher and more silver. For varieties, Little Spire is a more compact selection at about 24 inches, perfect for smaller containers. Blue Steel has particularly vivid blue-purple flowers and exceptional silver foliage. The only maintenance Russian sage ever asks of you is a single hard cutback to about 6 inches in late winter, one cut, once a year, and then it explodes back from the base with fresh growth and even more flowers than the season before. Plant 4. Hens and Chicks. Hens and chicks are the gift that literally keeps giving, completely on their own without any assistance from you. The hen is the main central rosette. The chicks are the perfectly formed baby plants that emerge from around the base of the mother plant, attached by short horizontal runners, and then develop into full independent rosettes. One plant becomes 5. 5 becomes 20. And every single chick can be gently pulled free and potted up on its own to create a brand new plant. An endless, self-renewing supply at zero cost. The variety available within Sempervivum is genuinely stunning. Some rosettes are bright emerald green, others are deep burgundy, soft purple, bronze, or silvery blue. Cobweb hens and chicks, Sempervivum arachnoideum, look as though each rosette has been carefully wrapped in fine silver cobwebs, and it stops people in their tracks every single time. Red Beauty deepens to rich burgundy in cold weather. Oddity has tubular, rolled leaves that look almost alien and completely unlike any other succulent you've seen. Commander Hay is one of the largest varieties, with deep plum-red rosettes up to 4 inches across. They need almost no water once established. They're rated cold hardy down to Zone 3, meaning they'll survive winters that would kill almost anything else in a container. And here is the most remarkable fact: they thrive in containers that are only 3 to 4 inches deep. I have some that have been living in the same shallow terracotta dish for 7 years, multiplying happily the entire time. When the mother hen eventually dies after flowering, which is natural for this plant, she leaves behind a full ring of daughters to carry on. Plant 5. Catmint. Catmint is what happens when a plant makes the deliberate decision to be both breathtakingly beautiful and completely self-sufficient. From late spring all the way to the first hard frost of autumn, it produces rolling, cascading clouds of lavender-blue flowers that cover the plant so completely you can barely see the foliage underneath. Butterflies treat catmint like a destination. Bees hover over it constantly. It transforms a simple container into something that looks genuinely wild and alive. It forms naturally rounded, dome-shaped mounds about 18 inches tall and 24 inches wide, making it ideal for the front or middle of a large container, or as a standalone specimen in its own pot. Here is the complete maintenance schedule for the entire season. When the first big flush of flowers fades in early to midsummer, take a pair of shears and cut the whole plant back by about 1/3. That's it. That is the only thing you need to do. Within 2 to 3 weeks, catmint pushes out a dense new layer of fresh growth, followed by a second, equally abundant flush of blooms that carries all the way to frost. Walker's Low is the most celebrated variety. Despite the name, it grows 24 to 30 inches tall and has won multiple awards for its reliability and beauty. Six Hills Giant lives up to its name, reaching 36 inches or more and creating a dramatic, overflowing look in large containers. Cat's Pajamas is a more compact option at about 18 inches, specifically bred for container performance. And unlike catnip, most domestic cats completely ignore catmint, so your containers are safe. In 30+ years of growing it, I have never once seen a pest or disease problem on a healthy catmint plant. It is simply bulletproof. Plant 6. Hosta. For shaded containers, nothing in the entire plant kingdom compares to the hosta. I have hostas growing in containers right now that are 15 years old, and they look more impressive, more full, more lush, more dramatic with each passing season. That is the nature of this plant. It doesn't just survive in a container, it accumulates beauty over time. Here is the insight most gardeners never discover. Hostas are actually superior in containers compared to growing them in the ground. A pot eliminates their two most destructive enemies, slugs, which can't navigate container walls effectively, and poor drainage, which you control completely. The result is cleaner, more perfect foliage than almost any ground-planted hosta can produce. The variety within hostas is extraordinary. Sum and Substance is one of the largest hostas in existence, producing enormous chartreuse gold leaves up to 18 inches across that literally glow in deep shade as if they have an internal light source. Blue Angel has massive blue-gray leaves with a distinctive powdery coating and an upright, vase-shaped habit. Patriot has rich green leaves with bold, crisp white margins that look as though each edge was painted by hand. Halcyon is a classic medium-sized blue hosta with impeccable slug resistance. Fragrant Bouquet produces pale lavender flowers in late summer that carry a genuine gardenia-like fragrance, a bonus most people don't expect from a hosta. The portable nature of container hostas gives you another advantage. You can move them to a shaded deck or patio in summer, then shift them to a sheltered corner of the garden or garage for winter protection. They're fully cold hardy, require minimal fertilizer, and every 3 to 4 years you simply lift and divide them to double your collection. Plant 7. Coral Bells. Coral bells permanently changed the way gardeners think about shade planting, because they shattered the idea that color in shade has to come from flowers. The foliage of heuchera is the entire show, and it arrives in a range of colors so vivid, so varied, and so unexpected that most people, seeing them for the first time, assume they must be annuals or that something artificial is involved. Palace Purple has leaves so deep in burgundy that they appear almost black in certain light. Lime Ricky glows in a shocking chartreuse yellow even in the deepest shade, lighting up dark corners the way almost nothing else can. Fire Chief performs a seasonal color change, shifting from bright red in spring to burnt orange in summer to deep burgundy in fall. Silver Scrolls is extraordinary. The leaves carry a silver metallic overlay printed with dark purple veining, as though each one was individually hand-painted. Carmel has warm, amber-toned foliage that looks genuinely edible. Obsidian produces the darkest leaves of any heuchera, pure, glossy near black, that creates dramatic contrast with any companion plant. The flowers are genuinely a bonus. Slender, delicate wands of tiny bell-shaped blooms rise well above the foliage in late spring and early summer and attract hummingbirds. But even in a year with no flowers at all, heucheras deliver continuous, evolving color from every angle. In mild climates, they are fully evergreen, meaning your containers have living color even in January. I water mine once a week in summer, apply a light top dressing of compost in spring, and otherwise leave them alone entirely. The ones I planted 8 years ago are still performing flawlessly. Plant 8. Astilbe. Astilbe is one of the most reliably deceptive plants in gardening, not because it tricks you, but because its flowers are so spectacular, so lush, so feathery and extravagant looking that every single person who sees them assumes they must be incredibly difficult to grow. They are not. Once established in a shaded container with reasonably consistent moisture, Astilbe is nearly indestructible and asks almost nothing of you in return, for one of the most beautiful summer displays a shady garden can produce. The flowers emerge as tall, tapering plumes that arch slightly at the tips, held high above finely divided, fern-like foliage on strong stems. The color range is vast and deeply satisfying. Bridal veil produces pure white plumes that glow with an almost luminescent quality in filtered shade. Fennel has the deepest, most intense red blooms in the genus, set against bronze, dark foliage that makes the flowers appear even more dramatic. Deutschland opens earlier than most, filling your containers with pristine white spikes while the rest of the garden is still waking up. Vision in red combines ruby-red flowers with purple-tinted foliage for a combination that looks almost too good to be real. Visions in pink carries soft salmon pink plumes with a warm, cottony texture. The bloom period for each variety lasts 3 to 4 weeks, but by staggering early, mid, and late season varieties, you can have a stilbe in flower from late spring through late summer. After the flowers fade, the dried plumes persist and provide excellent textural interest well into fall. A stilbe is completely cold, hardy, deer-resistant, and divides naturally every few years, giving you free plants that you can distribute across additional containers or share with neighbors. Plant 9. Japanese Painted Fern. Japanese painted fern is the plant that stops people in their tracks and makes them crouch down for a closer look, genuinely unsure whether what they're seeing is real. No other fern looks like this. The fronds are silver gray with deep burgundy-purple midribs running the full length of each frond, edged in soft green, and the cumulative effect is that every single frond looks as though it was painted by hand using metallic. Watercolors. In a shaded container, it looks less like a plant and more like a living work of art. The variety within Japanese painted ferns is excellent. Burgundy lace intensifies the purple tone significantly, with deeper red stems and more contrast between the silver and burgundy sections of each frond. Ghost is the most striking of all. The entire plant is a near-luminescent silver, with just the faintest trace of green, that appears to glow in deep shade. Silver Falls has a cascading, arching habit that spills gracefully over the edge of a container in a way that looks intentionally designed. Ursula's red pushes the burgundy red coloring further than any other variety currently available. Unlike many common ferns that spread aggressively and can overwhelm a container, Japanese painted fern is completely well-behaved. It stays in a neat, gradually expanding clump and never needs dividing for years. It's fully deer-resistant, something most gardeners assume ferns are vulnerable to. It's also remarkably slug-resistant despite the soft texture of its fronds, which is another common fern vulnerability. The plant dies back in winter but re-emerges reliably in spring with fresh fronds, and it grows a little larger and fuller every year. Water it when you think of it. Leave it alone when you don't. It genuinely doesn't mind. Plant 10. Bergenia. Bergenia doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves, and that is a genuine shame, because this plant delivers 12 months of visual interest and asks almost nothing in exchange. The enormous, leathery, glossy leaves, sometimes reaching 8 to 10 inches across, look genuinely tropical and bold, yet this plant is fully cold hardy down to Zone 3. It is an extraordinary combination: tropical appearance, tundra toughness. In early spring, often while snow is still on the ground nearby, Bergenia sends up tall, sturdy stems carrying tight clusters of bell-shaped flowers in rich pink, hot magenta, or pure white, depending on variety. These flowers appear weeks before most other perennials have even started to emerge, making Bergenia one of the most valuable early-season performers in any container garden. Then, after flowering, the magnificent foliage takes center stage for the remainder of the year. Winter glow is particularly impressive in cold weather. The leaves shift from glossy green in summer to deep, rich burgundy red in autumn and winter, giving you one of the most dramatic winter container plants available anywhere. Baby Doll is a more compact selection that works beautifully in smaller containers. Bressingham White has pure white flowers that open in April and look extraordinary against the dark, shining foliage. The thick, waxy surface of Bergenia's leaves sheds water efficiently, resists wind damage, and repels most pests. Slugs, which devastate so many shade plants, largely ignore Bergenia. Deer find the leathery texture unappealing and move on. I planted a row of Bergenia in containers 5 years ago, watered them in thoroughly at planting, and have basically ignored them since. They have never looked better. Plant 11, Black-Eyed Susan. Black-Eyed Susan is sunshine in a pot, and I don't mean that as a cliché. Those golden yellow daisy petals surrounding a raised, dome-shaped dark center genuinely radiate warmth and energy, and they do it continuously from midsummer all the way through the hard frosts of late autumn. In its second and third year, a well-established plant in a good-sized container can carry over 100 individual blooms simultaneously, turning a single pot into a blazing focal point. Goldsturm is the gold standard of the species, an award-winning variety that has been grown by gardeners around the world for decades for one simple reason: it never fails. Cherokee Sunset produces semi-double flowers in rich amber, orange, and deep gold tones, giving it a warmer, more autumnal palette than the classic yellow. Prairie Sun has bright golden petals surrounding a lime green center rather than a dark one, creating a slightly lighter, more luminous look that works beautifully in contemporary container arrangements. Little Gold Star is a compact variety specifically bred for containers, staying tidy at about 18 inches while delivering the same non-stop bloom performance as its larger relatives. Black-Eyed Susans are strongly self-seeding, so you will regularly find volunteer seedlings emerging in the soil around your containers, free plants that you can pot up or relocate at will. Leave the seed heads standing through fall and winter rather than cutting them back. Goldfinches, chickadees, and other seed-eating birds will visit your containers daily, turning them into a wildlife habitat as well as a garden display. The plants are drought-tolerant once established, completely deer and rabbit resistant, and they get more floriferous, not less, as they age. Plant 12, Lamb's Ear. I need you to hear this one carefully, because it is the single piece of gardening knowledge that most dramatically changes how people think about plants. Lamb's ear becomes more beautiful the more you neglect it. This is not an exaggeration, and it is not a trick. It is documented, observable botanical fact, and understanding why makes you a genuinely better gardener. Lamb's ear is native to rocky, arid regions of Turkey, Armenia, and Iran, where rainfall is scarce, soils are poor, and months can pass between significant precipitation. Over thousands of years, it evolved a specific survival strategy, coating every surface of every leaf with an extraordinarily dense layer of fine silver hairs. Those hairs reflect harsh sunlight to prevent overheating. They trap a thin layer of still air next to the leaf surface to reduce water loss. They make rain bead up and run off rather than sitting on the leaf and causing rot. And collectively, they give the leaves that extraordinary soft, velvet texture, exactly like touching the ear of a lamb, that makes people reach out and touch the plant the first time they see it. When you overwater lamb's ear, those hairs become matted, the leaves soften, and the plant becomes susceptible to rot at the crown. When you underwater it and provide excellent drainage, the hairs become even denser, even more silver, and the leaves grow firmer and more beautiful with each passing week. Big Ears is the variety I recommend most. It produces enormous leaves, sometimes 6 inches long, with a dramatic sculptural presence. Helen von Stein rarely flowers, directing all of the plant's energy into producing exceptional silver foliage with no interruption. In full sun, lean and dry soil, and a container with perfect drainage, lamb's ear becomes a living silver sculpture that literally improves the more you leave it alone. Plant 13, Coneflower. Coneflowers are a triple-threat perennial that earns its container space 3 different ways: stunning blooms for months through the growing season, architectural seed heads that stand through fall and winter, and a natural self-seeding habit that gives you new plants for free every year without any effort on your part. They are also one of the most important pollinator plants you can grow, supporting dozens of species of native bees, butterflies, and other beneficial insects. Plant breeders have completely transformed this native prairie wildflower over the past 2 decades, expanding the color palette far beyond the original purple-pink into territory that feels almost surreal. Magnus remains the classic, huge purple-pink petals with a prominent orange-bronze central cone, reliably blooming for months. Hot papaya is one of the most dramatic new varieties, producing fully double blooms in blazing orange-red that look more like a tropical flower than a prairie native. White swan has pure white petals that reflect light beautifully in low-sun positions. Cheyenne spirit comes in a mix that includes coral, orange, yellow, red, and cream, unpredictable and exciting. Green jewel produces unique chartreuse green flowers that are genuinely unlike anything else in the garden. Pow Wow wild berry has deep rose-pink flowers on compact plants, specifically suited to container growing. Deadhead consistently through summer to maximize bloom production, then stop deadheading entirely in late August. The spent flowers develop into upright, cone-shaped seed heads covered in small pointed seeds that goldfinches and other small birds harvest through fall and winter. A wildlife benefit that turns your container into a living bird feeder. Coneflowers prefer slightly lean conditions and actually perform worse in heavily fertilized soil, which causes excessive leafy growth at the expense of flowers. I have specimens in containers going on 10 years old that bloom more abundantly each season. Plant 14. Ornamental grass. Ornamental grasses bring something to container gardens that no flowering plant can replicate: movement. When a breeze passes through the arching blades and feathery plumes of an ornamental grass, the entire plant responds, swaying, rustling, catching light in a way that shifts from moment to moment. It turns a static container arrangement into something that feels genuinely alive. Carl Forster feather reed grass is one of the most versatile container grasses available. It grows in a tight, narrow, upright column, reaching 4 to 5 feet in height, topped with wheat-colored plumes that emerge in early summer and remain beautiful well into winter. It's one of the earliest grasses to emerge in spring, and one of the last to lose its visual interest in winter. Morning light maiden grass has extremely fine-textured leaves with a narrow white margin that gives the entire plant a silvery shimmer, topped with arching pink plumes in early fall. Hammeln fountain grass is the best choice for smaller containers. It stays compact at 24 inches, with bottle-brush-shaped plumes that emerge pinkish-white in midsummer and age to warm tan by fall. Blue fescue forms perfectly symmetrical, tight mounds of blue-gray foliage that stay attractive in all 4 seasons and look particularly striking paired with silver or black container materials. Grasses earn their space in every season simultaneously. Spring brings fresh new growth. Summer delivers full form and texture. Fall often brings color changes: gold, amber, orange, red, and seed plumes. Winter provides genuine structural interest and movement even in snow. I cut mine back hard in late winter, just before new growth begins, and they return each spring larger and more impressive than the year before. Plant 15. Hellebore. We have saved the most extraordinary plant on this entire list for last, and it earns that position. Hellebores bloom in winter, not late fall, not early spring, winter. They produce flowers through snow, through ice, through temperatures that would kill most plants outright, and those flowers are not small, apologetic little things that barely count. They are nodding, cup-shaped, genuinely beautiful blooms in an extraordinary range of colors: pure white, soft blush, deep rose, slate purple, wine burgundy, and varieties so dark they appear nearly black. And each individual flower can remain beautiful for 2 to 3 months without dropping or fading. The Ice and Roses series is specifically bred for winter performance and container growing, with stronger stems that hold the flowers more upright than many older varieties. Wedding Party produces dense, ruffled double flowers in white that glow with an almost ethereal luminescence against winter backgrounds. Red Lady delivers deep burgundy red single flowers with prominent golden stamens that provide a striking color contrast. Winter Thriller series includes doubles and semi-doubles in an unusually wide color range, specifically selected for excellent cold performance. Penny's Pink is a reliable variety with large, open-faced flowers in a warm rose pink that gets more intense as temperatures drop. The glossy, deeply divided evergreen foliage provides structure and visual interest throughout the entire year, not just when the plant is in bloom. Even in midsummer, when hellebores are between their bloom cycle and their winter flowering, the bold foliage anchor looks sophisticated in any container arrangement. In containers, they thrive because you can guarantee the excellent drainage that their roots demand. Plant them slightly deeper than they came in the nursery pot. Deer will not touch them. Rabbits ignore them. Slugs largely avoid the thick, leathery leaves, and they are among the longest-lived of all container perennials. I have hellebores in containers that are 12 years old and producing more flowers every winter than they did the first year. If you plant only one plant from this entire list, let it be a hellebore. Those are your 15 perennials plants that come back year after year, get more beautiful with age, and ask almost nothing from you in return. From drought warriors to shade champions to plants that bloom through snow, there is something on this list for every container and every corner of your outdoor space. Before you go, hit that like button if this video helped you, and drop a comment below telling me which 3 plants you are trying first. I read every single one. Share this with someone in your life who thinks they have a black thumb, because the truth is simple. They just haven't had the right plants yet. I'll see you in the next one.